Retro anime. How did we find it? How does it hold up? Unpacking the ins and outs of being an old school nerd and proving that 80s kids can't remember a damn thing right. These are the mindless midlife musings of the anime nerd.
Alright, welcome to Mindless Midlife Musings of the Anime Nerd. I'm Rick, and I'm joined by the rest of our panel, Vic, Brian, and Lynette. How's everyone doing today?
Hey, everyone.
Alright, Ghiblifest winds down for us as we take another step outside our usual criteria and discuss Studio Ghibli's 2013 release, The Wind Rises. Wind Rises is a Japanese animated historical drama written and directed by Hayao Miyazaki and animated, of course, by Studio Ghibli. It was released in Japan in July of 2013 and in North America by Disney's Touchstone Pictures in 2014. It's a fictionalized biographical film of Jiro Horikoshi, designer of the Mitsubishi A5M fighter aircraft and its successor, the A6M0. It is a heavily fictionalized account of Jiro's life. Life. It's not a film without controversy. It was controversial in Japan and had its own bit of controversy here in the States. So let's get into it. Let's hit
the controversy.
Let's. So I'll start with Japan. In Japan, the LDP, or Japan's right-wing nationalist party, they were very against this movie because Miyazaki apparently published an essay opposing the prime minister's plan to reinstitute a full-fledged military, and Miyazaki obviously penned a whole thing opposing it. And then this film shows Hiro's he wasn't really like into war. He wasn't necessarily a pacifist like Miyazaki, but he wasn't designing war machines. He was designing airplanes. They make it a point to show that side of him. So the LDP in Japan, they weren't happy with Miyazaki. There was some controversy there. The movie still did gangbusters in Japan, so clearly most of Japan did not care about that.
But that is so interesting to hear Japan's Dixie Chick stories. Yes.
Right, yeah. That's totally what it is. This is a shut up and sing moment for Miyazaki, and he, of course, didn't care.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
once you're at a certain age, you really don't care.
Well, yeah. The amount of fucks given and the age of a person they cross section. It's a definite cross section.
Like, I can imagine that there's the word that at some point in time, there is we must return to our samurai roots, right? But do you think, I never really thought about, we want to, do you think if they want to return back to kamikaze pilots and World War II?
I definitely don't think so. I can't speak for the LDP, but it certainly sounds like they are doing the right-wing MAGA thing over here and that we're doing, and they got like a whole nationalist party, Japan first, let's make a full-fledged military and be a mighty force in the world again kind of thing. And yeah, it's kind of like antithetical to the Constitution they had to write after 1945. So anyway, it's Japanese politics, not my business. Got enough problems here in America.
All right, so let's go with that one.
Yeah, so the American controversy surrounding the film was difficult just because of the subject matter. It's the life story of a person who designed the A6M0, the Zero fighter. Not exactly beloved here in U.S. shores.
Yeah.
So,
it's
when
not
that was
14 Tomcat. No.
So yeah, when people were hearing that this movie was coming out, Americans collectively shrugging like, why would we want to see a movie about this guy? So
people still did.
Well, yes, nevertheless, it did really well here as well. So proving that people are idiots and and we can appreciate stories for what they are. Critics are idiots, and people can appreciate it. So yeah, it's a very interesting film. I admit I was held back on my interest in seeing it, despite loving planes and loving the idea of aviation stories and things like that. Seeing this film for me originally when it came out, I was hesitant because feelings towards the Zero Fighter and World War II in general in Japan and all that. Those sorts of thoughts are kind of bred into you a little bit. Indoctrination by your parents. So little hesitant. When I watched it, I loved it. I loved it when I saw it. I thought it was brilliant and beautiful, and it made me appreciate engineering in a way that I never thought I could.
And his imagination.
Yeah. Talk about a very, very interesting and active imagination. The film, again, heavily fictionalized story. His whole personal life, almost none of that's in the anime is true. He had an older brother, not a younger sister. His wife didn't have the same name. She wasn't even sick. They had like 6 kids. Like, they took a ton of liberties with Judo's personal life.
I feel like you hit it on the whole movie just now.
Yeah, I know. I mean, you know what though?
Yeah.
It's like, that is not to slight the film, because it was very successful at being emotionally driven. Almost slice of life.
It's like, I'm pretty sure I was dead inside. And I'm like, I felt bad. Then I looked it up and it's like, oh, wait, none of it. Oh, man.
Yeah. No, same. I was like, wow, this guy, man, he went through some shit. And you read it and go, oh, no, he didn't. I mean, he still went through some shit. He just didn't go through this kind of shit.
It really was.
It's like he stubbed his toe, and then the movie went, he didn't stub his toe, he lost his foot.
Right. Exactly.
A stubbed toe, he lost his foot.
And he had to climb uphill with one foot.
Like, yeah, it's like, in the movie, it's like his wife had tuberculosis, and it's like, oh, in real life, she just had a cough.
Right, yeah. Or, she got a cold once. Oh.
It's not like she was visiting the Wuhan lab in China. No.
I mean, I get it. You're telling a fictionalized story. You don't want to. It's okay. I forgive that. And at no point in the anime they try to pass this off as a true story.
Correct.
They don't do anything like based on factual events or any of that shit that American movies do. They just, this is a movie, and if you put the pieces together about who he was and whatever, good on you.
That like one of my biggest compliments I was about to give this movie. Like seriously, I said, I have never seen animation used in this way. You know what I'm saying? Like like the equivalent, another equivalent of this one would be like, if I got the Wright brothers. You know what I'm saying? I've never heard of a historical anime.
It's a fucking biopic. It's a fictional biopic, but it's a biopic, an animated biopic. Yeah.
Like it there are so many, like you can literally do. I thought about all the other people that you will probably want to do this for, and this would be a wonderful medium. Like we know damn well there's nobody in the world who's going to be able to play either A, Michael Jackson, B, Prince. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Maybe we have to worry about that. We could do this as animated, and I thought it solved so many problems, but then you just go and shit on that.
I mean, Ryan, are you saying Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli should, do a biopic on Michael Jackson?
A biopic on Prince for sure. It's I agree with you though, Brian. It's a first for me that I can think of. An animated biopic is something that I never even conceived as an idea or a way to tell a story, and they did. And yeah, it's based more on a manga, which is the biopic. That's kind of the story on this one. The anime is based on a manga by Miyazaki, I believe, about Jiro. So Miyazaki already fictionalized a bunch of elements for the manga to, storytelling reasons.
It wasn't even a toe. He just
he once got a paper cut.
I'm
left
tired
hand.
of there.
He got a paper cut once, and in the anime, he lost a finger.
That's
Right.
right. That's it.
He was drawing planes with 3 fingers.
Yeah.
That's what
Yep.
it was.
Looking it up, Jiro passed away in like 82 or 83, so
82. Yeah.
it's possible to get at least some modern reference for accuracy.
I mean, I don't think that's what he was going for.
No,
That's
he was
okay.
going for something. I don't want to say fantastical, but most biopics, if it's like exact, then it'll end up boring.
Well, I hate to use this as an example, but it really is most apropos. The Weird Al biopic. I don't know if any of you guys saw it with Daniel Radcliffe.
I haven't yet. No.
Okay, so it's
Weird.
It's great because it is a biopic about Weird Al. It's like, what's Weird Al's whole shtick? Weird Al's whole shtick was parodies of songs. His biopic was a parody of biopics. There were elements in there that were true. Most of it was made fantastical and absurd because it was a parody of biopics. And it's the closest, it's hilarious to make the comparison, but it's the closest thing I can come up to for this is that this is a biopic in name only, right? Because everything about it is a fictionalized account of a person's life. Oh, it's an interesting take. And that's neither here nor there. Like sitting and delving on this is not doing the film any justice. It's as usual. Beautiful.
Then I have to give that to the moderator. The moderator should have let this. You should have let us gush all over it. Then at the end, right at the end, on your final thoughts,
And I could have shat all over it.
hey guys, I want to let you guys know, it's fucking real.
I
You
wa-
did
I
So
wanted
you want
to.
to pull a Despicable Me and pop the dog balloon. That's you wanted us to do that. We build the balloon, we love the balloon, we hug the balloon, and then he just comes along and goes.
but
No.
no. You started off with, hey, this balloon right here, it makes no point into. I'm just gonna go ahead and poke holes in it, and then we're gonna try to.
It was.
I looked into it yesterday after watching it though, and I was like, oh.
To me, it was important that we establish it because of the subject matter. I know it's weird because to Americans and to the West, the zero represented terrifying. It was a terrifying thing.
Yeah.
It was a machine that practically brought the United States Navy to its knees. It was destructive and amazing. And to make a film celebrating such a powerful instrument of American death is a controversial idea. So to talk about it, I needed to firmly establish the heavily fictionalized nature of this. I just feel like it just to calm people down. Like nobody in this isn't celebrating the zero. This movie isn't celebrating the zero. It doesn't do it at all. In fact, the zero's only shown once at the very end. It's if anything, it's a love letter to engineering and aeronautical design. That's the best way to describe the film.
With subtle hints of things blowing up. I mean, it was a very depressing, it's like this pursuit of art, of perfection for the plane. But at the same time, there's a subtle thing. It's kind of like the villain jumping in and going, everything's going to explode, and then walking away. And then a subtle thing of everything's going to explode, and then walking away. And then graveyard of planes and burning and fire in the background, and then perfection at the end. Artful perfection at the end, right? So it's like in the pursuit of perfection, everything explodes.
This is the cost of your
But that moment that you're talking about with the graveyard, that was the fuck you do to Miyazaki. You're like, hey, this guy. Oh, fuck war.
Exactly.
So, here's one for you. Could this be seen as a prequel to Grave of the Fireflies?
Oh, don't fucking go there.
Boy, we are not doing this movie any favors.
Oh
We're
man,
not making any favors.
this is I'm gonna start fresh. It's a beautiful movie.
It is a
Movie's
very
gorgeous.
beautiful movie.
It's
I
a
loved every
wonder.
single time- I loved how every single time his imagination kicked in, the sound effects for the planes were like, people's mouths just making noise.
I loved that they used that in the opposite side of the coin. How when everything was bad, all the sound effects were that way too. Like the earthquake wasn't an earthquake. There were no rumbles.
Yeah, it was weird.
Spurs
Yeah.
and like chants, and it's just like this dread, this feeling of dread washed over me when I heard these sounds. I'm like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, when his imagination took over, especially when things started going sideways, it's like it felt like he imagined, when things are just not good or his imagination just takes over. It was all just sound effects in his head.
Well, and that's why when we got to moments like that, when I was talking about using anime or animation as a biopic device, I was really impressed at some of the things. Like, it felt like there was an even better way to depict like the genius of a beautiful mind, or the genius of like of any of the inventions that we've had, how we get to these moments animated, and you can just make the colors make sense. It's like when you hear, there are certain artists, they talk about their creating their masterpieces, right?
Yeah.
And they're saying they can see sounds. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And it would be one of those type of things where you could see the beauty of what they're trying to create just from illustration.
Sure. I mean, yeah. Think about it like even Beethoven. The guy couldn't even hear. Being able to visualize in a way he was able to create music, that's a fantastic medium used for this. I agree. I think
I heard that we make them know that Beethoven was deaf. He wasn't deaf. He was he had everything.
Yeah.
Right. Beethoven was psychic, and he actually had the Rinnegan, and he
invented Kamehameha.
Right, yeah, and he did it all with half a face, because just he had
with no face,
6 wives, and you get to just, it's animation. Have fun with it,
Like, can you imagine if they actually redo the elephant man, and they actually give him an elephant head?
Why not? I mean, this is ripe for interpretation.
Some big ass.
So what's interesting about this is that for a lot of episodes that we've covered, a lot of content we cover this year has been aviation focused. We did Airbat, did Area 88. So we've touched on a few different things, and this one is same but different because it is an aviation based anime, but it's obsessed with the early days of aviation. It's obsessed with the design and development part of it versus the airplane porn itself, which is just kind of refreshing considering how much airplane stuff I've watched this year. But it was also enlightening. Like it made me appreciate the other anime more, which is kind of a weird. It was a weird thing for me to come to terms with. I'm like, man, yeah. As much as I appreciate planes, I really appreciate them more after watching.
Just let's take it for instance, right? Just to piggyback off of what you're saying. Wright Brothers happened in 1903.
Someone looked up some history.
Well, I do live in North Carolina, and my dad.
It's kind of a thing. You may not have heard of it.
He'll lose the state card if he doesn't do that. If he doesn't know.
Look,
for anybody who lives in North Carolina doesn't know, they have to move out within 30 days.
All right. So
They get a notice on their door.
look, me and the Wright brothers, we have a very sordid history.
They were cool together. It was a
no. It's even worse than that. We actually went to the Wright Brothers Museum, which is in Kildover Hills in North Carolina. And the way the museum works is you have this one tent, and the tent shows you the story of the first flights and the subsequent attempts that they made from there. Right?
Well,
you find out that it goes from the top of the hill to the bottom, and then subsequently each time they had to bring the plane back up and go. Right. That's not the bad part. The bad part is this: from the tent, way about 45 miles, and I'm exaggerating that point.
Absolutely.
Up a hill is where they have the monument to them. And my lovely wife, she wanted us to go and see that monument.
Wait. So you go through the tent, you watch the video in the tent and everything. They're like, okay, now you can see the monument that's at the top of the hill.
Exactly.
All the way over there. You see that little blank second horizon? That's where you need to go.
And then we walk up there. There is a picture of me actually punching Wilbur because this is some bullshit.
If only they had invented some kind of device that could have carried you over the air to that place.
Like,
you mean like a Zeppelin?
So then, from there, of course, they have the milestones of where each attempt and there's
they landed.
Yeah. And the other one is clearly half a mile the other direction. From up the hill, past the tent, the other direction, you have to walk a half a mile.
So what you're saying is that this was an excuse to force you into exercise without realizing it.
I think she was trying to, but you know what? I love her. All that to say is that knowing that the Wright brothers came in 1903, it's kind of, I have no choice. She has been burned into my pores. It was trauma. Like it was my own personal 9/11.
That year,
Brian.
That year was like etched into your soul.
Right. Really, Brian. What I'd like, I really want you to circle back to your thought. You were saying, to piggyback off of what I was saying, the Wright brothers in 1903, the first flight.
1903, and then you had the Zero coming not even 40 years later.
Right. Yeah, arguably sooner, right? Because the A5M, which is the plane that they show in this movie, for the most part, comes years before. So not even 40 years, we went from Wright brothers laying down on two giant fucking wings to that.
The fighter jet.
Huge jump in...
And that's not even the first iteration of air combat superiority.
Well, absolutely, no? Yeah, we had the biplanes of World War I. I mean, it's
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, an impressive jump forward.
So you bring this up because we were so glorified in just the animation of how they animated these planes. Like, even when we were talking about not airbats, but Area 88, we felt like Area 88 was basically a giant poster of all the planes.
Right.
So this is basically saying, hey, you would have got nowhere near this if it wasn't for the macro wing from Hero.
Yeah. It's, I don't know, it's cool, man. It's just cool to sort of take that into perspective and appreciate it. And I loved Hero as a character up until the end. I really liked him. I liked his... All right, so something I could totally relate to is when he's young, the very opening of the film. You know, he's having his wonderful dream, and he's trying to like see these like bombs that are, and he's like fucking with his glasses and his goggles. He can't quite get it to work out, and shit goes sideways. He wakes up, and he looks, and I swear to God, I've had this look on my face, this look of almost total disdain for his glasses.
Right.
Yeah,
He just
I can
winks up,
so relate to that.
Yes,
sees
yes,
shit,
yes.
just looks at his glasses like, fuck you.
Well, it's not just that though. It actually felt like it was a sentence of even having to have to get glasses. You know,
Oh, yeah.
I want to be a pilot. I want to fly these
Yeah,
things.
he wanted to fly, but because of his eyesight, he decided to do the next best thing. If he can't fly, he's gonna make the things that fly.
But the death sentence that he was feeling like,
Like, he
I
couldn't even
tried-
do that.
I can't see. Clearly, I'm dead.
Well, how did you feel when you first got your glasses?
Them on purpose.
And that's why
Um,
no one likes you.
So for me, when I first got my glasses, I was in 3rd grade, I think, something like that. And for me, wasn't so much a curse because I already knew what I wanted to do at that age, and I didn't need to see far away to do that. So being heavily nearsighted, I was just like, whatever. This is just a thing I have to deal with. As long as I can see the paper in front of me, I'm good. And so for years, it was just natural progression for me, I guess. If I wanted to watch the movie, I needed to have the glasses.
Right?
I love how we are reaffirming that this podcast is not mindless midlife musings of the anime jock or the no. It's the anime nerd.
We are, yes, we are firmly in the nerd aspect. What about you guys? Like that sort of level of, and I mean, of all the things to talk about with this movie, but that's sort of that feeling of loathing for yourself, as if you yourself, you've almost cursed yourself from having the life you wanted. Like it's in a single look, he managed to communicate all of that.
Look,
It was awesome.
to this day, I've always hated glasses. Always.
They're a nuisance.
I feel like so much of my personality is shut off. I feel like Cyclops from X-Men.
What? God, it's not that bad, dude.
No, I'm saying that because,
Right.
you know, I
Wait. Before you say anything, I'll say optic blast, and then keep on going.
pass.
Okay.
No, because I've always thought that my eyes were one of my best features.
Yeah.
But they're caged between these.
Yeah.
And-
Being
And guess what? The glasses are only getting thicker and thicker and thicker. now these motherfuckers now have a line because now they're bifocals. What the hell? Yeah.
I guess I'm just lucky. Now he's working, got his eyes modified by lasers and whatnot.
science
I
for the
did
win.
too.
Science for the
I
win,
did
man.
too.
Both.
Science for the win.
Yeah, I have to say, when I first found out I had glasses, I felt like I had a little loss of more independence because now I had a dependency on something, right?
Yeah.
How can you truly be free if you lose this little piece of thing and you can't see anything? You have no
Right.
sight. You have nothing. You're restricted. It was just another chain on me. I was like,
Yeah.
why do I have to have this? Why am I restricted? And so I would always break them. I would
It's
always lose
in
them.
rebellion.
I would throw away my contacts because it was one of those things. It's like, I will not be chained down by this stupid piece of thing.
Gandalf, you shall not see. Wow.
And honestly, that's kind of that force that Jiro has in this anime. Like that's his crutch, and he hates it. He makes it apparent, like he's sitting on the roof trying to fix his vision by focusing on the distant thing. And even in his dream, he knows it's his crutch. He's bringing it up, and Count Caproni's like, I ain't never flown a plane in my life, dude. He's just like given this liberty. He's given these wings to really fly and do what he wants. Despite hating himself for that, he pursues this career. It's great. It's such a.
Is this the
Something-
part where you tell me that? Is this the part that you tell me that he actually had 2020 vision?
Yeah, he 2020 vision. No, he had big ass Coca-Cola glasses. He really did.
Oh,
Yeah. Like, you can find his pictures on Wikipedia. They were like, Coke bottles.
I loved that, though. I thought that was really great. It's something that's so taken for granted these days, glasses, because, most people have them, or not most people, but a lot of people have them.
It's no big deal nowadays. It's
no big deal. But back then, or to anybody interested in aviation, not having 20/20 vision's like a kiss of death.
Yeah.
So it was important, but something that's simply overlooked by the casual filmgoer these days.
And the thing about it is it actually highlights how perfect of a human specimen you have to even be considered as a pilot.
Requirements put on piloting is
right. It's not like he had any other maladies or anything else other than having his foot chopped off.
Right. But I paper cut. It was terrible.
Yeah. Other than that, he was a perfect human, and none glasses gone.
That's it. 4F, you're done.
Took him from full human to subhuman.
And yeah, it can feel demeaning to people as a glasses wearer, especially if your chosen profession is something you love, that takes that away from you, or he felt like it would take it away from him.
Well, the thing about it is, it's clear that Hero never met Max.
Right? No shit. So, that was one of the things was one of the things I loved about Super Dimension Force Macross, is that the best pilot wore fucking glasses. Oh shit.
And no one gave him any shit for it.
Anyway,
I wish he would.
Right. Let's settle this in a Valkyrie.
Shit. Ben probably
probably did.
Yeah, we all see how that turned out for Ben.
Right.
So he's dreaming, and it's kind of neat. I like the idea of his dreams, where in his dream with Count Caproni, he was given his wings. He was given his blessing to I wrote the quote down. Engineers turn dreams into reality. I was like, it's fucking brilliant.
It's like he used the dreams to console himself and to like give himself that extra push to actually do something.
But his dreams were great because they were like this. It's like he really was dreaming with Caproni. Like, it was just kind of cool.
It's like they shared. It almost like they shared
a dreamscape. Like they had a land they could go to together.
But not just together. It felt like it's a place where only engineers,
right? Yeah, like this exclusive dream club. And like, if you're an engineer and you see the world this way,
like you're either an engineer or Caproni's family.
It was cool. I loved that. I loved that whole shared consciousness thing. I just thought it was really neat. It was a neat touch. It was to keep him connected to this person he idolized.
They never meet.
Never. He never met him. It was, I don't know. It was cool. It's one of the things that I really appreciated about this film was that.
Before you do that,
yeah, go ahead.
Can we just stay on that one point? Right?
Absolutely.
If there is anybody that you would have loved to have given you a blessing to do anything, who would it have been?
Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. You're putting me on the spot.
Yeah.
That's tough. It's a tough one.
Your question, you answer first.
I just thought of it. I did. It's not like
That's a good question that younger me needs to decide on.
Right. So, like, in my youth, it's a different answer than now. Right? In my youth, it would have been, all right, my background, for those maybe don't listen to the show as much, my background's artistic. I appreciate illustration, animation, things like that. And so for me, all of my heroes as a kid were animators. I idolized Andreas Deja, Chris Sanders. Anybody who really likes animation's gonna geek out at these names I'm spewing. And the people, the people who came before, even Walt Disney, for all his human flaws, was a person I idolized. So any of those people, like, would have given me the time of day, and I would have been in heaven. Some of my earliest awe-inspired moments were going to Walt Disney World. Back then, I think MGM Studios had just opened, and they had it wasn't MGM Studios, or I think it was. And they had Disney's animation studio, like in the theme park. You could go there and see the animators working on things. And to me, that was my fucking Jurassic Park. Like, I could go there and spend my day in that studio.
It was at that moment that Rick had his first erection.
That's right. Made me a man. So to me, any of the people on the other side of that glass, people working on those films, those were my heroes. And that progressed into the comic book world. Jim Lee, Todd McFarlane, shit. There's so many artists. John Romita Jr., Steve Ditko. Oh my God, Steve Ditko. If I could have gotten Steve Ditko's blessing, Jesus. So those were my heroes. Those are my super mega fucking nerd heroes right here.
Okay.
So that's my answer.
All right. Let's go with the person who also has glasses.
No, I can't be the only one that answered. You guys can't do that to me. So somebody's got to
I have no clue.
So let's start with the easy thing. What was your dream as a kid?
We're not talking to me now.
Nothing you get paid for it.
Like, we're not talking to me because I was pretty clear.
If you went through all that and you said that your dream was, I actually want to be a rodeo clown.
I really wanted to be a lawn maintenance technician. That wasn't my dream.
Right. I want to go to Disney and just so I could pay for being a rodeo clown.
So yeah, those guys
being an underwater basket weaver. I have absolutely no freaking clue.
I wanted to be a teacher until I realized I didn't like teaching children.
We suck.
It sucks.
It suck.
So
I love them.
Could have gotten the blessing from, who would have been?
For a teacher?
Yeah.
Anybody. I mean, whoever.
Actually, Mr. Rogers. I grew up with Mr. Rogers. Wanted to be a teacher. If Mr. Rogers came by and went, "You're going to be a great teacher," I probably would have become a teacher, even if I didn't like children.
So,
probably, I'm really dating myself.
Oh, I don't think you are. I don't think you are at all.
It's midlife music. We've already done that part. We've done that part. So, little known fact about me. My first dream was actually wanted to be think of it as an underwater Lando Calrissian. Like, I wanted to be a city administrator for a city that was underwater.
You wanted to be Aquaman.
No.
So you wanted to be Namor.
No, not Namor. I said it. I wanted to be underwater Lando Calrissian. I actually said it.
Very clear on the fact that he didn't need to breathe water. He wanted to live under it.
Right. I saw something like Sequest DSV.
Oh, I was just going to say
Sequest.
Sequest was awesome.
Right, but I didn't want Sequest. I wanted Sea City.
Right.
So if I could have gotten it from anybody, it would have been Captain Nemo.
Nice.
So when I finally saw it, like, Leave Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yeah.
And you see that one there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when he's got the Nautilus and that shit. It was, yeah.
Right. And not just the Nautilus. The Nautilus.
Yeah, that was the OG Avengers team.
Hey.
So I'm going to get this train back on the tracks, if that's all right with everybody.
Yep.
No, he didn't. Vic didn't say his.
I honestly don't have one. I really don't.
Has no heroes. Vic's heroes are himself.
My childhood hero, I was dead to the world. I didn't know. I didn't care.
Bruh, as much as you video game and all the video game systems you own, you mean to tell me?
Hey, my hobbies have nothing to do with my non-existent dreams.
I feel like we need to go give him a hug.
Actually, after saying that out loud, I kind of feel like I need a hug.
My gosh.
Oh man. All right, it's okay. It's all right. We're gonna move on. We got a lot of movie to talk about. We've barely done it. So
Have we done any movie?
Just
we
a
were-
little
I-
bit. We're 40 minutes in.
honestly, big picture ticket stuff here. One of the things that's really cool about this film is sort of how it subtly discusses the idea of the military-industrial complex, how government military projects fund industrial development. They have for hundreds of years, and this film is a perfect example of it. Japan is a country on the brink of financial collapse. They're struggling, and
Yeah,
still
the beginning of the movie, you see a bank collapse and people make a huge run on the bank.
Yeah, and still, military-industrial complex moves forward. The two characters, Jiro and his buddy, they're like, we still got jobs because we're working for the military, basically. We're contractors. So they get to go and design planes. Something that they're not particularly keen on them being used for war, but they need a paycheck and they're perfectly happy to keep doing it because they're engineers and their goal is to create something beautiful, to, mechanical
What they
perfection.
love.
Right. So it's kind of an interesting thing because as the character is not particularly keen on the concept of going to war or his designs being used for it, even making jabs about it, like later on when he's talking about how he's kind of like had his epiphany moment and he's figured out how they're going to build a better plane and they got the rivetless
Oh yeah,
system.
make it lighter and faster. It's like, yeah, we can leave out the guns.
Just leave out the guns. No big deal. It's it's an interesting way to look at it because the reality is yeah, the military industrial complex does fund development, and a lot of the things we have to be grateful for are because of military industrial complex design. Things like GPS exist because of the government. So
The internet.
yeah, your Google Maps,
Wireless
the internet,
communication, period.
these are all things that war or the desire to make war have made for all of us and are sort of an essential part of our lives now. And this whole movie is kind of a testament to that, albeit the time period making it seem less so, but it really was the whole idea. He just wanted to make something beautiful that could fly. And look, I am not going to say an unkind word about the A5M fighter. It's a beautiful plane design. The fighter that predated the Zero that they show in this movie, it's got these like inverted gull wing things. It's a gorgeous plane. Loved it. And the fact that it got turned into a weapon of war, that sucks. Really does. But it's a beautiful plane.
Stay tuned. Next month, we're actually going to be reviewing Oppenheimer. So,
And that's, yeah, dude, seriously. Oppenheimer is about to drop when we're recording this, and I'm excited to see it, but I'm also terrified to see it. You know what I mean? Like anyway.
like, the thing that's going to kill me. Here's the thing that's going to get me about stuff like, what the end result of Oppenheimer is going to be.
Sure.
It's going to be
Bada boom.
Yeah, bada boom. Big bada boom.
Bada boom.
Bada boom.
Well,
Right.
same way we know exactly what the end result of this movie would be.
Mm-hmm.
Grave of the
Going
Fireflies.
The thing about it is that they were very slick about who the antagonist really was. And honestly, it's something that as engineers, you really do. He is also the protagonist. He's also the antagonist.
Right.
In this,
I know
feel.
I haven't seen the film yet, but it seems like if anything, the
No, I'm talking about Hero.
oh yeah, absolutely, yeah, he's his own worst enemy.
Exactly. He's the one
Yeah.
that has the design, and he's the only one who can figure out what needs to be done to make this wing work,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
to get it. And it's going to be one small thing that he's going to glean from it. And you see this, the switch of, it hasn't worked. The rivets are working. We finally got the correct wing measurements and design, it's going to work now, you know?
Yeah.
I'm terrified. I'm actually terrified about that moment in Oppenheimer.
Sure. Yeah. And you're right. You're right, Brian. That's the crux of it. When I started talking about this movie, I said I really liked Hiro and I also hated him. Because of that same duality, right? He was so obsessed with work and the perfecting of it and figuring out the problem, right? Engineering the fix at, his wife was dying, the next city over, however far she was. And he was even on his way back to his wife, fictional wife, who was fictionally dying in this fictional story.
He was still working on the plane.
Right, he was still working on the design. He couldn't put the fucking pen down fast enough or long enough to just be with his wife. And I appreciate the character of his wife. Thought it was really sweet how she wanted him to keep doing it. She wanted him to succeed. It was very kind. It pissed me the fuck off. So,
well, the thing, I like how they were united under the passion of The Wind Rises.
Right, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's something about when you find somebody who believes in your dreams.
Supports you regardless.
Or not even that, who's actually able to see the power of your dream. What powers your ability to dream. You can easily be in... It's the stuff of shit that makes people fall in love, if you really think about it.
Yeah. It's how many times have you heard somebody say, and I'm sorry to mean to cut you off, Brian, that they say that my spouse gets me.
Right.
And that's that idea that he or she understands the deeper part of me that my friends don't even get.
Yep.
And now, I mean, I've heard friends through the years say that about their spouses. Those are the relationships that last. Ones where you get each other. You fully you see and understand, those things. So yeah, but I still hated it. Still hated it because, whatever.
What are you trying to say there, Rick?
Hated it. Nothing. I'm saying that he should have put the fucking pencil down and been with his sick ass wife. That's all I'm saying. That's it. All this is. It's all I'm trying to say here. And I did love him for it. I loved him for his passion, and I hated him for his passion.
So yeah, a love-hate relationship with his passion.
It's a dual-edged sword. Well, we love it because it's something that hell, even us doing this podcast, we're doing it as dreamers. We're doing it while we even have the ability to say, deep down, we love the camaraderie that we have between the four of us. And sometimes 5, and sometimes 6, and especially when she keeps on doing stuff like Golden. But you know what?
Yeah.
Great job, Andre. Great job. You're my motherfucker. But
100%.
Even with what originally how this started, there's a dream behind it of what if it blossoms,
Mm-hmm.
And that's a powerful. I love being a dreamer.
Sure.
I love being a dreamer, but
What is so in this? He can very clearly see the cost of his dreams. The cost of his dreams is evident from the get-go. His career choice, his path, his dream was to make beautiful planes. The only way he could do it was through a thing that in real life he very much did not approve of. So it's like, what do you do? What is the cost of your dream?
Have you ever had that one thing that you wanted to do, and or wanted to have, but knowing that you have it will cost the life of one stranger down the street that you never met, you don't know, and it will decimate their entire family. But you know that this is the one thing that will be everlasting for you, That was the thing that I took from it, was what would you do if you knew that the ultimate thing that you wanted was this perfect thing, this beautiful thing, and knowing that you cannot put it down. It's an addiction. You cannot put it down because your life is not complete. But you also understand that it will cost the lives of thousands of people you have never met. Can you really, as a human being, can you really give up that one thing that makes you feel like your life is your life?
Can I even add on that? He even had to pay. There had to be a sacrifice for him to even see the fruition of it. He had to go with, my wife is about to die. And even through that, he had to continue doing that.
Yeah, it's like his dream was important to him. And, it sucks that, he knew that his dream would be twisted into something for war. But even then, he still wanted to pursue his dream because his dream wasn't the war. The dream was flight.
Right. And I think that's... Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's like, how many inventions have we seen where it started off innocent?
Yeah.
Someone wanted to figure out what the atom was.
Yeah.
And then we got that. Someone wanted to figure out, and I'm very generalizing it and not really someone found a glowing rock and wanted to see what it did. And now we have radiation, uranium, we have all that stuff. We have nuclear power plants. We have everything from that, all because someone went, what is this? And I must find out what this is.
What is?
And they know what's going to happen because that's just human nature. Anything that you discover that's new and shiny and bright, someone's going to turn it around, and say, hey, that's a really fine boat you got there. If you put a cannon on there, we can go and kill a bunch of people across the way. Oh, that's a really cool plane. Did you know now I can fly further and drop bombs on people because, that's kind of cool too.
Yeah.
Oh,
science.
Yeah.
Science and engineering being weaponized.
Are you guys familiar with Madame Curie?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Same thing right there.
Yeah, no, Brian, I really want you to follow that train of thought for any of the listeners who may not know who that is.
You brought it up.
Madame Curie is the discoverer of radiation.
Right.
And we all know that radiation in small doses can be lethal. Mm-hmm. But when you surround yourself with it, you're basically killing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And
how'd that go for her?
Well, the great news is to actually measure radiation. They named you to measure it after her. But other than that, she died.
So that's one of the things. It's not one of the things, but it's a constantly reoccurring theme in Ghibli's films. And this film is no different. In fact, I think this film probably hits that beat better than a lot of them, is that humans are very complex. There's no definitive villains, right? Everybody's the hero of their own story, but everybody has, much like in Princess Mononoke, characters, they lack the ability to empathize. Because they're all complex. Everybody's out to help somebody. Everybody's out to save somebody. Nobody's ever truly just evil. The road to hell's paved with good intentions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
No, it's not to kill everyone else just because. It's like they think they're doing right on their end.
And I feel like this film puts that into a little more of a realistic perspective. Like in Princess Mononoke or Nausicaa or any of these other films where those traits are true, it's a fantasy world. And it's easier to dismiss it as like a fantasy story. It's this world that's been invented by this creator. But in this, it's a pseudo biopic. We're talking about real people with real consequences in an animated format. And these characters have to deal with the repercussions of their decisions on a level that's not... He doesn't even get to, like, you kind of tease that as a precursor to Grave of the Fireflies, but that really is the end result here, right? It's not Jiro's fault that something like Grave of the Fireflies happens, but his contribution to war did lead to that. It wasn't the only thing that led to that. It was certainly a piece of a puzzle.
Wasn't his agreement to father? Wasn't his father a pilot?
Naval. No, he was a
Navy
officer. He was on a ship.
I tried to do some type of 6 degrees.
That was good. I see where you're going with it.
And I was about to, man, fuck that dude. if I had found a way to man, it was man, that fucker was going to be like Fred Durst levels of motherfucker.
I really liked the scenes that took place in Germany in this film. And Giro
Speaking of Germany.
Yeah, go ahead.
Speaking of, what about Germanize? Yo, the guy who was, I guess, a German spy or...
Okay, all right. I'm going to talk about him. You talk about the guy that was playing piano and shit that he met up with. Okay.
Right.
Gotta talk about this dude. So it's actually kind of fun. That character is from a play. He's from another story. His Hans, the character's name was Hans, and he's.
I was gonna say, if you say it was Faust, I was gonna.
That would have been funny. But no,
I was going with Faust.
His name was Hans, and he was. Which, by the way, getting Werner Herzog to be his American voice was fucking brilliant casting.
Who was it?
Werner Herzog, brilliantly casted for the English dub. The whole character's a nod. All right, they mentioned the Magic Mountain a bunch of times in this. The Magic Mountain is a story by Thomas Mann. It's about a German engineer visiting a tuberculosis sanatorium. And who do we find out has tuberculosis in the very scenes that this dude's in? Nahoko. So the whole thing is this like intertwining nod to this story, the Magic Mountain, and that whole character is absolutely homage to that. So it was very interesting, and yes, a lot of people speculated that he is based on some infamous spy, Robert something or another. I'll try and find it for the show notes. Yeah, he was an interesting character. I thought they were going to do more with him than they did.
Yeah.
Kind of creeped me out, but he was funny at the same time.
So it was really...
When he got stared, they did the zooming in his face. You could see his eyes and his nose.
Yeah.
It's like he's staring at your very soul through the TV.
Okay, I'm the only one who was like, Voldemort eyes. I got Voldemort eyes. This is...
I actually went and insulted a whole race of people and said Germanized. So, I want to go ahead and apologize now. That's not my intention. It wasn't my intention. I was trying to say the guy who was German, his eyes were freaky.
Yeah.
And then he smiled. There was like one scene where they did the zoom in, and he's telling a story, and then he goes, "Ha!" He has that smile. I was like, "This is really creeping me out. You need to kind of back up."
like
the amount of detail that went into that.
Yeah,
it was great.
When he name dropped Hitler, I was like, "This motherfucker's he's a spy."
That's what you're supposed to think, is that he's there hiding out.
Yeah. I was like, this. War crime. When does this happen?
I love it.
Where is Dr. Jones when you need him? We have a Nazi right here.
But I was under the impression that he wasn't force for evil in that he was spying on the Germans, because it's like he was in hiding and he was talking about how Dr. Juncker was in trouble, and like he was telling our hero about one of his heroes, telling him that he was in trouble because he didn't want to work for Hitler's army anymore. It was interesting, and it was something I wish they would have spent a little more time on. I thought that was neat. But
he was talking about everybody blowing up.
Yeah,
everybody's just gonna blow up.
The thing about it is, it felt more like a Faust.
Mm-hmm.
I get you.
Yeah, it felt like somebody who was trying to remove the ignorance of what he was creating.
like helping him understand is like, you know what you're doing, right? Like, you know what you're doing. Like, don't fuck.
Yeah. Come on, you come on, dude.
Right.
Come on, Cletus. Come on, Cletus.
I get it.
You fucking know.
He was
So,
he was the creepy Jiminy Cricket. That's what he was.
And it's so I feel like that's that compounded with a bunch of other story elements. But one of the things is like that with that character Hans and that whole Magic Mountain and the whole like is this guy a spy? Like, what's his deal? And him basically telling Jiro, it's like, dude, you know what the fuck you're doing. Like, you know how this ends. Like, what the fuck are you doing? It made me think of another. Well, I think it was earlier in the film where his hero, Caproni, is talking to him in their little dream world that they have together. He asks him a question, and I kind of want to get your guys' thoughts on this. You want to live in a world with pyramids or without? And I got hung up on that because to me, what it was saying was the implication of these things are beautiful, but look what they were built on. Kind of idea. Do you want to live in a world with pyramids or without? And that was how Caproni justified Jiro to continue doing what he was doing.
That's it.
Oh, come on, let's go.
All right, so there's a comedian who has since been done to the bowels of hell, Louis C.K.
Sure.
And he had a skit. Well, not one of his jokes was about, of course, but you don't know what I'm talking about,
Right? Yeah. Of course, but
he said, of course, slavery is bad. Of course it is. Slavery is bad. Of course it is. But if it wasn't for that, we would have had none of the shit we have now.
Right. Yeah. Of course.
You know,
but that's
the problem. The problem is with those statements, right? Is the pyramids were something that was that's a great feat.
right.
Right.
A champion of engineering.
All right. That same ingenuity could have been used to better mankind.
100%.
So if you're going to ask me, would I live in a world with pyramids or without the pyramids? I would say without, because
Right.
I would have loved to have seen what they would have did if they were focused on the right
Instead
shit.
of something else instead of their own vanity project. So that's the question then, is like, was Jiro building a pyramid? Would he not have been better served in a world without it? Is his zero a pyramid because of look at the cost of it?
The problem is the zero is more like the hammer as opposed to the building.
Yes.
You know, we're saying that the zero was just because it was designed in Japan, but the same people were designing its counterpart in America.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. So while the zero was taking lives, or not even in the it's not even in
all
the
of
context.
them, all the planes were.
All the planes were.
Yeah.
You know, we can't just look at. If anything, we have to go back to the Wright brothers.
Ask them.
And we have to, we have to, hey, look, have y'all really thought this through about what you're going to be able to do with this plane once you get off this fucking hill in 1903? You know, because pretty much in 12 and 14 around there, that's when we started having World War I. You know, so you motherfuckers did this, and that was 10 years.
All right, so the anime asks the question: Do you want to live in a world with pyramids or without? Right? As if tell Jiro at the feat of the engineering is worth the cost itself. Right? That's the play that they're getting at in this. And I think that we can't reduce it to, well, everybody else is building airplanes, because it's the same argument like gun owners or gun lovers use. Like, well, you know, I have a gun because everybody else has a gun, and we're going to make more guns because everybody's got guns because it's America. And if you ain't got 6 guns under your pillow, you're not an American, kind of thing. It's like, look, I get it. I like them. But the world with pyramids or a world without, you know, just, you don't have to be, you can't solve the problem. But do you want to continue to be a part of the problem? That's what the Zero really was. It was Jiro was contributing to the problem. It wasn't the problem. He was contributing. And that's, so the question is definitely a broader scale question. And to reduce it to put all that weight of that onto Jiro is too much. It's not fair to the person or the character. But the question was brought up in the anime, so I wanted to make sure to bring it up here because absolutely relevant. Like, that's the very question his own mentor asked him.
That'd be a good listener question too.
Yeah,
let us know.
Please.
World with the pyramid or without the pyramid?
And honestly speaking, it was a dream. So I don't even think, if you really think about it, he was asking himself the question.
Sure. Sure. I mean, I'm perfectly...
He was trying to justify, should he continue on with his dream or not?
Right. And honestly, so this anime has a really great way of asking deeper, harder questions about things. And it's a surprisingly... I don't want to say it's a surprisingly anti-war movie for a movie about the guy that made warplanes. So it's kind of neat.
Anti-war movie you can think of.
It was an interesting, I wrote the question down because I thought it was worth addressing.
And we're going to find out that he actually didn't build the plane. He wasn't a designer of the plane. He was just a designer of the rivets.
That's it. Yeah. just the rivets.
Not for nothing though, those rivets was fucking genius.
Oh yeah. No, hey man, come on, dude. Reducing air friction. Look, everything about this movie is really great idiotics engineering porn. It's great. The curve of the fucking fishbone like leads him to developing a wing with, I mean, come on, man.
That brainstorming session was just amazing. How they were just like, let's do, there's this, there's that, there's this extra fin that will allow for you to change direction and lift. And
I loved all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to do, I got to give a shout out here because, so I watched it dubbed. I know two of y'all probably watched it subbed. Brian, did you watch it dubbed or subbed?
Subbed.
Watched it subbed? Rock on. So in the dub, Hiro's boss, the tiny little motherfucker with the bob cut.
I love that dude.
He is fantastic. Murakawa is the character's name. In the dub, he's voiced by Martin Short. And I shit you not. Hold up. No, I shit you not. I did not know it was him until the end. Usually Martin Short's very, like, you can tell it's Martin Short.
Yeah.
The second he opens his mouth. And no fucking clue it was him until the end. And I was like, holy shit, that was Martin Short. Good on him.
No,
Japanese.
Actually, I knew it was Martin Short because this is my first time watching it.
Yeah.
Right? So I had watched How I Met Your Mother. And when Martin Short was on How I Met Your Mother, his voice and cadence that he was using in that is typically what you were seeing in this guy. I was like, that's fucking Martin Short.
That's great. Hideaki Anno.
I wanted to bring that up, yes.
Go ahead, Vic. Go for it. It's all you.
So the voice of Jiro, which is Hideaki Anno, most anime fans may know him for something like Evangelion.
tiny little thing.
But
Evangelion.
he's got a long career in animation directing. He's done the Shin Godzilla movie, Shin Ultraman, the recent ones. He worked as an animator on Super Dimensional Fortress Macross. He's worked with previous Ghibli movies. He worked on Nausicaa, Valley of the Wind. He's worked on Wings of Honiamis. Another
He's the
tiny,
voice.
and just
He's
a
the
tiny
voice of
little
Goro.
thing. A tiny little thing that Brian may or may not have heard of called Gunbuster.
He did his Studio Gainax did Gunbuster.
His team.
He worked on Macross Plus. He's done a lot.
Yeah,
He
the
is
guy's
like anime royalty.
he is anime royalty.
He is actually the principal designer of the Overfiend's penis in Legend of the Overfiend.
You know what? I wouldn't
not
surprise
sure
me
about
at this
that,
point.
but it may be
Wouldn't
uncredited.
surprise me. But
Look,
the point.
No, sorry. We know that thing is aerodynamic.
The point is it was.
He's also He's also worked as a director and writer on the 2004 Cutie Honey.
So it's just kind of cool. They gave that role to him, and that's not his forte. He's not known as a voice actor,
Which he's done plenty of, though.
right? But they wanted to give this role him because, of course, they did. I mean,
And honestly speaking, it makes sense. He's an artist.
right, like.
So you don't want machismo. You don't want in this role. You don't want the guys who's doing Goku's voice coming through, saying
You
Kamehameha.
don't want Vegeta? You can't have Vegeta? Could
That's
you
right.
imagine a Vegeta voice?
The fucking clown.
A picture of Vegeta designing anything that isn't,
So-
massive explosion.
I loved that. I loved that they got him to do it because it's just
I
like
stopped. When the credits rolled, I stopped and I was like, no, and I had to look it up. It's like, oh my god, it is him.
I thought, wow, like that's just, like it's just that's all I can say was, all right, that tracks.
I just want to make sure. Please, Lynette, did you know that information? It
No,
didn't
I
track?
was actually just geeking out over the fact that they were showing math. Like up
Yeah.
close, I was
Lots of
looking
it.
at. I was like,
Okay.
whoa.
Hey,
You see,
I'm
young
saying
me would
that.
have been math is stupid, but older me knows that math actually has come in handy God knows how many times.
So now, Vic, one of the other musings that I want to bring up is one that you had commented to me you weren't happy about, and that was the mono mix.
Yeah, so I fired up, because I actually have the Blu-ray. I had it sealed because I bought it like a little bit after Disney gave the rights to G-Kids, right? So it's like one of the last Disney releases. It's like, okay, great. I've got a 4K player. I've got, a Dolby Atmos sound. It supports the DTS MA. I'm like, great, okay, pop it in. Set it on DTS, set it on master audio in Japanese. And I only see one channel on my surround sound light up. And I'm like, why is it? And I am checking and it's like, yeah, it's DTS master audio mono.
Right. A decision made by Hayao Miyazaki himself.
So, but you know what? It was still a clean sounding mix.
He was concerned that the surround sound in movie theaters would distract the audience from paying attention to what was happening, so he ordered the film to have a mono mix.
So when I first saw it, I was annoyed, but it was clean sounding. And after a couple of minutes, it didn't bother me.
Oh,
Now, what
totally.
did bother me is actually
Right.
Disney's fault, or Touchstone, owned
Bring it
by
on.
Disney. So, I watched it subbed, right? Blu-ray disc. Anything spoken in French, Italian, or German in the standard sub wasn't translated.
Right. Damn.
Now, here's where it gets even crazier. If you use the SDH subs on the same disc, for the hard of hearing and deaf, so it spells out sound effects, music is playing, all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
The translations were not the same. All right. The English translations were not the same at all in some places. And they also translated the French, Italian, and German.
Fascinating. You got a little more out of the movie than I did because I didn't know what the fuck they were saying.
So when he was on the train and his hat flew off and Naoko caught it and he said, nice catch or nice play.
Yeah.
So in just the standard English, it said, nice play, end of discussion. right?
Yeah.
On that piece until she started speaking French. In the SDH, it said something like "nice catch," or it was slightly different.
Yeah.
And then with the SDH, she was like, "Do you speak French?" And then they started talking, and it was translated. And it's like, why were the other language? And I did the same thing, like when they were in the German hangar. You know, when the Germans came and started yelling at them, you know, to not go anywhere. I went back 10 seconds. I switched to SDH, and sure enough, there was translation.
Okay, Brian, go ahead. And you're waiting.
Bitch, you can't just watch it just one time. Why?
I
Why
like
you
to know
do
what's going on because everyone is speaking different languages, and they act as if they know what they're saying.
But dude,
I didn't watch the movie multiple times. I just went back a couple of seconds every time there was another language to know what they were talking about.
Well, why can't you just?
I got
Who
to
hurt
know
you?
what's going on.
Who hurt you?
Disney did by lacking on the subs. Disney
thought
hurt my feelings.
Thought it was an interesting
When
decision.
When they said it was in English, but the book was in Italian.
Yeah.
Did you notice that? They were like,
Yeah.
"This is in English," and I'm like, "Oh, really?" I'm
Is
looking
it
at
now?
the word, and I'm like, "That's English. That's Italian.
What is it now?
It's all right. It's okay. English, Italian, it all sounds weird anyways, so it's okay."
All right, I just want to make sure. I think we need to establish some rules, and I know we're into this a year now, but I think it's time we really establish some rules about the technical stuff. What the fuck, dude? He's all right. First of all I heard in this whole exchange was, I watched it in.
With the standard subs and then SDH.
See, there you go. As soon as you start off, there's way too many syllables. There's way too many syllables in that. There's way too many syllables in that statement. We need to. What the frick?
He watched it in Japanese with subtitles, but when it came to a foreign language, he switched or what the hell does SDH stand for?
I think isn't it subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing?
Deaf or hard of hearing.
Deaf and hard of hearing, yeah. So he switched to those subtitles.
So I switched to a different track on the same
caption.
disc. Yes, that's when you get the little captions like music is playing in the background. You know, heavy wind sounds, you know, things like that. Hard rain sounds.
Feel like for Ghibli films, this is a pass because historically Ghibli films have had like 3 or 4 dubs, a couple different versions of subs, like had a bunch of releases over the years. So, I mean, feel like this is a pass. Come on.
Right, but the translation, 2 totally different sets of translations, 2 different amounts of effort placed onto subs on the same disc.
Dude, is Hans Gruber still in it? In the other one?
Oh, yeah,
Hans
he's
Gruber. Is Hans Gruber still, no matter what fucking translation it is?
Yeah, he's still him.
Is he still looking for John McClane?
We have come to the magic mountain, and it is beautiful.
Yeah. And his singing is properly translated too.
I can't. Like, seriously, this force the time where you got to overload me. And this is one of those. All right. You remember you remember that feeling I was having when I said there's too much breast in Cutie Honey?
There's no such thing, but go on.
Go on.
I'm with you, but I still felt that way, and I have now felt this way again. There's too many syllables.
Too much breath in this movie.
Why are you talking about boobs?
He's making a comparison to the amount of I'm assuming, subtitle options. Is that what we're having a problem with?
I think the subtitle options and the fact that somebody was dedicated enough to go through and basically fact check them.
Again, I wanted to know what they were saying in French, in Italian, and German.
You have the nerve to tell me you don't have a dream? Motherfucker, take some of this.
Yes, I know. My effort is misdirected. Sue me.
Excuse me. Just take some of the brain power that you just used for that. I promise you can sound word peace. At least being able to translate it across multiple languages. The definition, world peace, at least.
Oh man! All right, hey guys, look, we've run plenty long on this, so we should start wrapping it up. Let's go ahead and start with some final thoughts on The Wind Rises, that film that we barely really touched on during this podcast. I'll start with Vic. Vic, you get to go first. Let's talk about The Wind Rises.
Okay.
Don't talk about the subtitles. Don't talk about the. I'm not gonna be able to do it.
Give him his moment. Give him his moment. Go on.
If you're gonna buy it, get the G Kids version. Don't get the Disney version. It's a beautiful movie, greatly animated. I love a lot of the design choices made, especially with the sound effects. It's a good movie overall. Is it 100% factual? No. Was it a little disappointing to find that out? Right after watching it? Yes. Does it take away from the movie? Not even remotely. Worth the watch, and I'm kind of sad that I've had it sitting on a shelf for like 3 years, and I just popped it open for this viewing. And now I feel like I underpaid for the movie because I got it like on clearance at Best Buy for like $7.50.
All right. Appreciate it. Lynette, I'm going to let you go next. Had you ever seen The Wind Rises before?
Nope.
This is a first time viewing for you. Excellent.
Yep.
First time for me too.
All right. Please continue. Go for it.
I feel like this is kind of one of those hidden gems. I'm going to date myself again. I don't think anybody realizes that The Matrix was actually a summer B movie before it became a hit. This is what I feel like this one is kind of like one of those quiet ones, at least for me, is when I saw it, I was like, I'm not really in the mood for a romance, because that's what the picture looked like, and so I would just like skip over it. Ultimately, I didn't think it would be very deep, but it had me sitting there going, wow, I'm asking a lot of questions about myself, and then questioning a lot of things that I supported that ended up having bad things too. Like when you look at it and you're like, yeah, that was cool, that invention was great, and only to read 5 pages in and going, oh man, so that's kind of what this feels like. It's like I loved watching the genius do his thing and have the support and dedication to create what he thought was perfect, only for the end result 5 pages later for you to see and you just going, oh man. That's what I felt like this was, and I say everyone should watch it at least once. So,
rock on.
Go watch it.
All right, Brian. Floor is yours, my friend. Also, your first time with The Wind Rises.
I need to go ahead and just say for the record that we can timestamp right now. My brain just clicked back on from what Vic was saying.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
It just clicked back. It finally.
Just in time.
Yeah. I was buffering for quite some time.
I'm glad.
Brian, what did you think about the subtitles?
I really think. Look, I can say this now. This podcast, this episode, is the reason why we need to do this video. It's the reason why. Because you could have seen my face as I started glitching in the Matrix as he was talking. And the problem, I can't say just watch it one time. I say that if you're a dreamer and you want to figure out what exactly is true north, this is one of those things you should watch repeatedly.
With different subject time.
I
broke him.
I hear you.
I hate you.
I couldn't resist. I'm sorry.
No, but
continue. Sorry. Multiple times.
You need to remind yourself about, and come on, Cletus. When that invention you're going to do is going to be used for crimes against humanity, right? And we're rapidly getting to the point where we're not even just talking about crimes against humanity. We could be approaching interstellar law or interstellar crimes. You know, we have the mind power to do it, and we can't even. I wish they oh my gosh. When you hear people say, when he name dropped Hitler for me, right? I didn't know. My first thought was Japan, Italy, and Germany, the Axis powers, right? And saying that he was speaking to somebody else who's also part of the Axis and saying, we're going to do great things, terrible things, but they're going to be great things. It was a Voldemort, as we've all said. You could easily lose your way. And maybe we don't have the currency to decide what our dreams get used for, but that's something we really should start to examine. You're not going to get that on the first one, on the first viewing. You have to watch a multiple viewing to even get to that top. So,
Or have a group of people who have watched it and talk about it together.
So I agree with you, Brian. This would be my second viewing of the film. I watched it once when it came out, and upon first viewing, I had the base reaction of, you know, at first, of course, a little hesitancy to see it, but then at the end of the day, it was, you know, just a story about a man who loved flight and wanted to be an engineer and whatnot, and all of these ideas, the concepts of the cost of dreams, cost of your creativity, the cost of your invention. And none of those things really sank in with me until the second viewing. This. And yeah, I think that's a concept that needs maybe a little bit more exploration. I think more people need to sit down and think about that and decide, do they want to live in a world with pyramids or without, right? So yeah, it's an excellent film. Or anybody who's, like you said, anybody's ever dreamt, anybody's ever thought about trying to make the world a better place, and, you know, kind of thing. I think it's of course it's beautiful. There are plenty of animation moments I could have geeked out about, but didn't get around to. There's lots of avionic beauty in this, aeronautical engineering beauty in this, mathematical beauty in this. There's so much beauty to be had for so many different people.
There's so much the algebraic beauty.
It's gorgeous.
Words never uttered in any media. Algebraic beauty. We've done it first. We are pioneers.
There's a it's a conversation with my dad recently over Father's Day weekend, where he was talking about the Japanese military history and the sorts of war crimes and horrible things that Japan had done during World War II, because he is, of course, of an older generation. He's not from the greatest generation. He's not of that world. He's spoken to many of people who were. So his opinion of Japan and of, you know, them as a nation is skewed in a different way than mine is. And for people with that mindset, this movie's not going to do you any favors. No, this movie isn't this. You'll see this as something else. You'll see this as lifting up a hero of something that you feel is a horrible thing. It's not. So open your mind and try and absorb what this is. It's a love letter to dreamers and engineers. But if you are not of that generation, you're younger than us, which you probably are, and you decide you want to tackle this anime, do the homework on this. I feel like it's worth your time to understand who these people were and what the time period was. Like Brian mentioned, went from 1903 to 1923 when they were having one of the first avionics competitions, and he was hired onto a project. 20 years. 20 years went from Wright brothers on two wings to yearing out fighter planes. So it's I'm not a historian, claim to be, never did. But this is the kind of film like I would probably show in a history class because I think it's a good jumping off point for the kind of conversations you want to have about that era. My opinion.
In conversation, but you have to let them know that she did not have tuberculosis.
That's right. It's very important that we be clear about that. And she had six
y'all
kids.
broke me. Y'all, I think that's why I first started breaking on this one because so shit wasn't even fucking real.
All right, guys. So yeah, check it out. Unanimous decision amongst the panel here. It's worth your time. It's worth a couple times. That's going to do it for our show today. So until next time, keep calm and remember, le bon se lève. So try to live.
You've just been privy to the mindless midlife musings of the anime nerd, presented by Geek Grotto. Follow the podcast on Twitter at Geek Grotto. For show notes and corrections or for general geeky fun, you can visit our website at geek-grotto.com. If you would like to sponsor the show, you can do so on the podcast's Red Circle host site, redcircle.com/shows/MMMAN. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast app, please like, follow, and subscribe.